I said it earlier because I have been so adamant that there is no way that anything short of winning the Big Ten tournament will get them in. But now they keep winning. So it starts to, in the back of your mind, this common sense starts to grind on you that let's say that Michigan State loses today. Indiana wins.
Ohio State wins.
Let's say they got to the championship game. They don't win it, but they get to. That's 3 more wins. That gives them 21 wins. And Michigan State gets beat. So now they have a better record than Michigan State. They've got wins over Michigan State. They've got wins over Ohio State. They swept them. Both of those teams are probably in the tournament right now. I'm going to guess, especially after Ohio State winning yesterday. That was an upset of sorts, beating number 7 Iowa. I'm starting to wonder if Indiana can make up, because they've got a lot of ground, and that's why I said that it's no way. But damn it, I don't know how much they can jump, because all these wins will be quad 1 wins, Todd. And to get consecutive, they went so long without even having one, and they're going to have like 4 in a row or something.
Yeah, I mean, this is where there's obviously a flaw in the system, in that it should be, you can go through the net rankings and the Ken Palms and those, and you can look at them and you can see, well, hang on a second. Why is this team rated this much worse than another team with almost identical records that have beat almost the identical people? And in a lot of cases, even worse records. And I'm talking about people in the same league. I'm not comparing like Indiana State and Ohio State or Michigan State or something like that. I'm comparing like teams in the same conference, because how are you going to put a team in? Ohio State's not in right now. They're not in the tournament right now. But if they won today, they would be probably on the bubble or in that last 4 out. And if they were by chance able to win tomorrow and get to the championship game, they would probably be somewhere in that last 4 in area based on everything that I've watched. And they don't even have Indiana in the discussion, like zero discussion, like unless they win the Big Ten tournament, zero chance. And so I don't understand how that's possible, because their resumes are not that dissimilar.
The highest team's net ranking to get in, I believe, is a 77. And that's why now I'm like, well, damn, if they win 3 games.
Yeah, they're already at what, like 84?
Yeah, they were like 86 or something. I'm like, they can very easily get inside that. And if they get inside that, then that's not another precedent that would have to be set. So that kind of takes that off the shelf to make it a little easier. And you're looking at a team that plays in the Big Ten, which is still, as bad as it looks, number 2 conference in the net. So now you've got a team that finished 5th and has wins over 2 of the teams that you have in. It's going to be more and more difficult for them to keep them out. But
it's just, hey, this is why the discussion is so big and aggressive this time of year. And I mean, it just becomes a free for all. And then we're making an argument for like Indiana right now. Imagine if you're Indiana State. I mean, imagine them sitting there for an entire week. Like, this is probably one of the worst weeks of their lives.
Well, unless Louisville hires shirts away from them. I keep repeating this to every guest. We talk about this. Do you know what he makes?
Shirts?
Yeah.
I do not.
Well, most coaches are all in the, well into 6 figures. He makes $356,000 a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's not surprising yet. That's not surprising there, to be honest with you.
And
I mean, we deal with Big Ten coaches' salaries and that stuff all the time. It's a major difference. Like, we all know that it's a major difference, and they're not keeping him. Like, there's no way they keep Indiana State can keep him. And that's no disrespect to the school or the conference or anything. No. There's going to be way too many openings And he is way too high. He's the Dusty May right now of this. Before the tournament started, he's the Dusty May of this season. Like,
speaking of Dusty May, Bob Kravitz thinks that he is a good fit at Louisville. I'm not sure I see him leaving Boca Raton for Louisville, but it's the ACC. The money will definitely, they know that they won't be able to get him on a budget, so they're going to pay him.
Hey, Jim, this is so funny because this is exactly, and he may take one of those jobs. I don't know. But this is exactly what happened with Mark Few every single year for
kept getting pay raises
10 or 15 years or whatever it was, and everyone kept saying, oh, he'll leave. Yeah, he's got to leave Gonzaga for blank job or for blank job or for blank job. And every year it was a bigger and better school and more money and all of that, and he's still there. And so there are people in the world, I'm not saying Dusty is going to be one of those, but there are people in the world that love where they're at and love their situation. And you hear people say it all the time, all the money in the world couldn't make me go do this. Well, there are people who actually believe that. And I think there's a possibility Dusty's one of those. He's just in, where he lives. Like, where that place is down there. He is in it is paradise. It's in paradise. It's beautiful.
I take every opportunity to
sing. Can you let me rant for like 1 second? For 1 solid minute? Like,
go ahead.
This is just irritated me. Like, I lost sleep over this overnight. The officiating in the Indiana game last night, and you can go back and watch all the interviews I do with you, all our shows, everything that you and I do. And I very seldom ever talk about the officiating.
Never.
Because I don't believe it generally affects the outcome of the game. The officials affected the outcome of the game last night. And I'm talking about their inconsistency, not pro or against Indiana. The lack of consistency in how they called fouls last night affected the entire game. It changed the way Penn State had to play. It changed the foul situations. It changed everything. It let guys think they could get away with certain things. It let them know they can't do certain things. And then when you get to the end of a game and you start calling it differently, you call that foul on Malik Renew on that moving screen towards the end of the game, and you can go watch 100 screens throughout the game that are worse than that one. And I'm going to use that. Ace Baldwin, when he reaches in and knocks the ball away, is probably better at that than any human being I've ever seen. But the foul on Xavier Johnson at the end of the game when he's driving in for that layup, he
has nothing but hand.
Hey, we have all, as a player, I can tell you, we've all been in that situation, and you try to get ball or whatever. And then once you realize you didn't get the ball, you could see what Ace Baldwin did. He knew he fouled him, so he just said, he's not getting this ball up. It's not going to be a three-point play. I'm yanking his arm down. Exactly. He physically grabs his wrist and takes it down because he does what you're supposed to do. You're not letting him get a three-point play. He basically intentionally fouls him, and the ref still doesn't call it. That is, if those referees are not reprimanded for that, then there is truly something wrong with the way officials are handled in basketball. And I will sit down with any official, anybody, and let them tell me that game last night was called in a way where those guys could be proud of the job they did when they got done. That was embarrassing. Both sides, both ways. It was embarrassing.
Yeah, I wonder.
To get that off my chest. It irritated me so bad last night.
I think every officiating crew should be forced to sit down with an independent party after every game and review their games. You want to see a reality show? I've been saying this for years. You know what a great reality show would be in the off season, like after everything's over, so tensions are down, everybody's calmed down a little bit. Get coaches like Tom Izzo or Mike Krzyzewski, or get Bruce Pearl would be a fun one. Get those guys, Calipari, to sit in a room watching a game film, calls that are made in a game with the officials that made the call. Oh, my God.
And let those officials have to explain what was going through their brain when they made a certain call.
You got some splaining to do.
Oh, man. It would be as good as some of those NFL shows where they see where they follow them around all year long. Like it's a reality show that should happen because
the penalty box with Todd Leary, baby.
oh man,
That should be a reality.
I'll tell you what. Hey,
there was another foul. How about the foul on Anthony? Go ahead.
There might be some point in those, if we got that thing put together, where some of those officials didn't make it out of the room. we'd be scrapping. It makes me that mad.
There was another foul called on Anthony Leal on a 3-point shot. And I'm like, really?
He fouled him. He fouled him. He hit his hand.
He touched his arm, but was well before the shot. Well, he wasn't even in a shooting motion, I didn't think. He touched his arm.
We might be talking about a different one, but Hicks last night got fouled on 2 different 3-pointers. He got fouled on both of them. And yeah, that was going to be my entire talk today about how Indiana's discipline on defense last night. They had some plays where even the announcers talked about they were awesome. Like they were helping so good. And then they did some of the stupidest fouling on jump shots last night. If they lost, it was going to absolutely 100% be the reason why they got beat in the game, because fouling jump shooters when you don't need, like, there is a difference between being disciplined on defense, which includes contesting a shot, but you're not there to block the shot. Like, how many times in a season do you see a guy block a guy's 3-point shot? We see it occasionally. Every once in a while, it happens. But I can guarantee you I've seen a lot more guys get fouled on 3-pointers than I've seen 3-point shots blocked. It's not your job to block their shot. It's your job to make it difficult. And that's just lack of discipline. That is lack of defensive discipline. And it's not like I'm calling anybody out. That's an obvious situation. These guys know what they did was wrong. Like, you can't do that. Like, it's just we had some poor defensive fouls last night that was not the officiating. They were definite fouls, and we were lucky to win. We were.
I agree with you there. I think Indiana was working very hard on the defensive side.
They were.
They knew they had to, because that had been their Achilles heel against Penn State previously, not working hard enough, shutting them down. They keep Ace Baldwin Jr. to 3 of 15 shooting, 0 of 7 behind the 3-point line, and Johnson also 1 of 6, 1 of 13 behind the 3-point line for those two. That was massive for Indiana. Gabe Cupps, everybody, kind of gets on him a lot. I even talk about his lack of production sometimes offensively, but last night he is 6 points, 2 3-pointers, 2 big 3-pointers for Indiana, and they come at appropriate times. Xavier Johnson only scores 4 points. He only took 5 shots. He was not forcing things. But he ends up with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. So he really affected the game in another way, and his speed has just helped this team. You can just see it change a little bit because they're able to get out and run a little bit, which we both have talked about how this team is much better when they're in transition.
Yeah, and hey, going into the game, you could tell the game plan was to figure out a way to stop Ace Baldwin. I mean, and when I say stop, like, you're limiting not just his scoring and his production, but he runs the entire show. And so what I thought Indiana did well was they changed the way they handled the ball screens from the first couple of times they played, and that they put more pressure in kind of a trapping / made him go farther out around the screens than in the past. And they made him give the ball up a lot more and made the other guys beat him. And that it was an obvious, identifiable game plan that Indiana had defensively last night. And I will tell you, I've been very critical on our shows of not being able to identify what the game plan was offensively or defensively. And it was identifiable last night. They were taking the ball out of Ace Baldwin's hands and doing whatever they could to keep him off balance and not comfortable out on the court. And so that was great. Yes, Indiana's defense was probably the best for a 40-minute game that I've seen. That's me right after me saying how I thought fouling on jump shots was atrocious last night. But overall, our defense was good for the long run. The production, you and I would not have been complaining about production from Gabe Cupps all year long if he was taking standstill 3-point shots like he took last night.